On the flight deck of the USS George H.W. Bush, the surface temperature frequently exceeds 120 degrees Fahrenheit. The air is a toxic soup of jet exhaust, burnt rubber, and sea salt. Amidst the chaotic ballet of 60,000-pound fighter jets slamming onto the steel deck, a figure in a yellow jersey stands in the center of the storm. This is the shooter, the officer responsible for the final safety check and the physical launch of the aircraft. She makes a sharp, practiced gesture, touches the deck, and presses the button that releases the steam piston. In 2 seconds, a lethal machine is hurled into the sky. When the jet clears the bow, the shooter removes her helmet. Underneath the heavy cranial protection is a 24-year-old woman with her hair pulled back in a tight regulation bun. 30 years ago, her presence on this deck would have been a violation of federal law. Today, she is the linchpin of American naval aviation. If the women were removed from the USS George H.W. Bush today, the nuclear reactors would shut down, the jets would be grounded, and this $6 billion warship would become a drifting hulk of steel. Yet behind the recruitment posters promising adventure and equality lies a gritty, unvarnished reality. Life for a woman inside the floating city is a relentless test of privacy, biology, and psychological endurance in an environment designed entirely by men for men. In this documentary, we are going to breach the hull of the USS George H.W. Bush to expose the hidden world of its female crew. We will dismantle the logistics of living in a berthing compartment where 80 women share 4 showers and water is rationed by the second. We will audit the payroll to see exactly how much a female nuclear engineer earns compared to her civilian counterparts. We will investigate the complex social dynamics of the no-fraternization policy, the phenomenon of ship goggles, and the difficult choices mothers must make when the ship leaves the pier for 9 months. And we will answer the fundamental question: has the U.S. Navy truly integrated women, or is the aircraft carrier still a boys' club where women are merely tolerated guests? To understand the scale of this integration, one must look at the demographics of the USS George H.W. Bush. As the last ship of the Nimitz class, it carries a crew of roughly 5,000 souls when the air wing is embarked. Of that population, approximately 20% are women. That is 1,000 female sailors living in a steel box. They are no longer relegated to administrative or medical roles. On the Bush, women are everywhere. They are red shirts loading 500-pound laser-guided bombs onto wing pylons. They are purple shirts dragging heavy fuel hoses across the non-skid deck. They are green shirts crawling into the greasy hydraulic guts of the arresting gear engines. The gender barrier in combat roles was officially lifted in the 1990s, but the cultural shift is still settling. There are no quotas here. A 100-pound chain weighs 100 pounds regardless of who is dragging it. The ocean does not care about gender, and neither does the flight deck. This physical reality serves as the great equalizer. When a female sailor proves she can turn a wrench or fight a fire just as hard as her male counterpart, the gender bias tends to evaporate, replaced by the meritocracy of survival. However, the design of the ship itself fights against them. The USS George H.W. Bush, despite being commissioned in 2009, relies on a basic architectural plan from the 1960s. The berthing compartments, the bedrooms, are the first line of friction. A female berthing is a windowless steel room packed with triple-high bunk beds known as racks. 60 to 80 women sleep in a space the size of a fast food restaurant dining area. Privacy is a curtain made of fire-retardant cloth. The rack is the only sanctuary. Inside that small metal coffin, a sailor keeps her photos, her books, and her civilian clothes. But outside that curtain, life is communal. The bathroom, or head, is a logistical nightmare. For a division of 80 women, there might be 4 toilets and 3 showers. The morning routine is a mathematically impossible equation. Naval regulations are strict regarding appearance. Hair must be pulled back neatly. It cannot touch the collar. This means hundreds of women are fighting for mirror space at 500, trying to style long hair while the ship rolls in high seas. The water situation adds another layer of misery. Fresh water on a carrier is precious. It is made by the ship's evaporators, and when they go down for maintenance, water hours are enforced. A Navy shower is the rule: get wet, turn the water off, soap up, turn the water on to rinse. Total water flow time 2 minutes. For a woman with long hair that has been soaked in sweat, grease, and jet fuel for 12 hours, washing it in 2 minutes with low water pressure is a daily battle. Many women choose to cut their hair short simply to survive the logistics of the shower room. Then there is the issue of supply. The ship's store, the G-Dunk, stocks basic necessities, but the supply chain is optimized for the majority. This means that razors and shaving cream for men are plentiful, but specific female hygiene products, tampons, pads, specific shampoos often run out weeks into a deployment. A carrier cannot simply pull over to a drugstore. Experienced female sailors learn to become hoarders. They pack a deployment bag with a 9-month supply of feminine hygiene products, sacrificing precious locker space for the fear of running out in the middle of the Persian Gulf. This is a stress factor that their male counterparts never have to consider. The uniform itself is a point of contention. The standard-issue Navy coverall, the poopy suit, is a unisex garment designed for a male frame. It is baggy in the wrong places and tight in others. While newer uniforms are being developed, for decades women have had to work in clothing that fights their anatomy. Rolling up sleeves that are too long, cinching belts that are too loose. It is a subtle, constant reminder that the environment was not built for them. Furthermore, the physical gear is heavy. A fire hose charged with water requires immense upper body strength to control. The damage control equipment, the oxygen-breathing apparatus, the heavy steel hatches, everything requires a level of physical fitness that demands women train harder just to meet the baseline. The fit boss, the ship's physical trainer, often runs specific programs to help female sailors build the core and upper body strength needed to handle the industrial rigors of the ship. The social dynamic on board is a minefield. With a male-to-female ratio of roughly 5-to-1, women are constantly under the microscope. This phenomenon is known as the Fishbowl Effect. A male sailor can walk down a passageway unnoticed. A female sailor is watched. Her uniform, her hair, who she is talking to, everything is catalogued by the boredom-fueled rumor mill of the ship. This leads to the concept of ship goggles, where the scarcity of women alters the perception of attractiveness. Women who would be considered average in a civilian setting become highly desirable commodities on the ship. This unwanted attention forces many women to adopt a porcupine persona, cold, professional, and unapproachable, simply to do their jobs without harassment. Fraternization is the third rail of naval service. Officially, intimate relationships between sailors on the same ship are prohibited, especially between different ranks. The no fraternization policy is strict. If caught, sailors can lose rank, pay, or be kicked out of the Navy. Yet put 5,000 young, healthy people in a steel box for 9 months and biology will assert itself. Secret relationships are common. They exist in the shadows, stolen moments in fan rooms, quiet conversations on the sponsons at night, but for women the stakes are higher. The derogatory term shipwife is often used to describe a woman who is in a relationship during deployment. It is a sexist double standard. The men are rarely labeled with the same vitriol. A woman's reputation is fragile currency. One rumor can destroy her authority. Therefore, female leaders, chiefs, and officers often isolate themselves socially to avoid even the appearance of impropriety. It is a lonely existence at the top. The most complex biological reality on the ship is pregnancy. Naval regulations are clear. A pregnant woman cannot remain on a deployed ship after the 20th week, and usually they are transferred off much sooner for safety. This creates a manning gap. If a key specialist, say a nuclear reactor technician, discovers she is pregnant a week before deployment, she must be transferred. The ship cannot instantly replace her. Her watch shifts are divided among the remaining crew, increasing the workload for everyone else. This inevitably breeds resentment. "She got pregnant to get out of deployment" is a common toxic whisper in the mess decks, regardless of the truth. It places an unfair burden on female sailors who plan their families, forcing them to time their pregnancies around the ship's operational cycle, a biological roulette that often fails. For mothers who do deploy, the emotional toll is excruciating. Leaving a 6-month-old baby with a spouse or grandparents for a 9-month cruise is a specific kind of heartbreak. In the digital age, communication is better, but it is also a torture device. Wi-Fi on the bush is slow and restricted. FaceTime calls are pixelated and freeze constantly. Watching your child take their first steps or blow out birthday candles on a frozen screen while you are sitting in a bunkroom 3,000 miles away is a trauma that defines the service of naval mothers. They carry this guilt silently. They hang photos of their children inside their racks, the last thing they see before sleep and the first thing they see upon waking. The psychological resilience required to compartmentalize that grief and then go fix a jet engine is immense. Despite the hardships, the financial incentives are significant. The Navy pays for the job, not the gender. A female E-3 airman on the flight deck earns the same base pay as a male E-3, roughly $2,500 a month. But with allowances, the money adds up. Sea pay, hazardous duty pay, and the tax-free status of combat zones mean a young woman can save $20,000 in a single deployment if she is disciplined. For officers, the money is serious. A female lieutenant commander flying F-18s earns over $100,000 a year. For many women from rural or disadvantaged backgrounds, the aircraft carrier is a portal to the middle class. It offers the GI Bill for college, VA home loans, and a level of financial independence that is hard to find in the civilian sector at age 22. The career path for women on the USS George H.W. Bush has no ceiling. We have seen women rise to the rank of Command Master Chief, the highest enlisted position on the ship. We have seen female air wing commanders. Captain Amy Bauernschmidt, though she commanded the USS Lincoln, set the precedent that a woman can skipper a nuclear carrier. On the Bush, women run the reactor department, managing the nuclear fission that powers the ship. They run the navigation department, steering 100,000 tons of diplomacy. The respect they garner is real. In the engine room, when a steam line ruptures, nobody cares if the person sealing the valve is a man or a woman. They only care if they are competent. Competence is the ultimate currency. However, the shadow of harassment still lingers. The Navy has a zero-tolerance policy for sexual assault and harassment. Posters with hotline numbers are plastered in every bathroom stall and passageway. The SAPR, Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Program, is mandatory training, but policy does not always change culture overnight. Women still travel in pairs or groups, especially at night in the deeper, industrial parts of the ship. The buddy system is an unwritten rule of survival. While the culture has improved drastically since the scandals of the 1990s, the threat is not zero. Every female sailor knows she must be vigilant, a mental tax that drains energy. Interestingly, commanders often report that mixed crews are more disciplined. The presence of women tends to soften the roughest edges of the locker room culture. It introduces diverse perspectives on problem solving. Women in leadership roles often bring a different style of command, less yelling, more communication, which resonates with the younger generation of sailors. The USS George H.W. Bush is a more effective warship because it draws from 100% of the talent pool, not just 50%. The daily routine is a grind, reveille at 600. Cleaning stations, sweepers for an hour, then a 12-hour watch, maybe an hour at the gym dodging the stairs, dinner in the mess deck, mystery meat and overcooked vegetables, then back to the rack to write an email to a husband who feels like a stranger. Repeat this for 200 days. This is the marathon. The women who endure this are forged in fire. They walk with a swagger known as the carrier stride. They have looked the ocean in the eye and not blinked. When the ship finally pulls into its home port in Norfolk, Virginia, the scene on the pier is emotional chaos. The first kiss, the ceremonial first greeting of a sailor and their partner, is often a female sailor embracing her wife or husband, a sight that signals just how much the Navy has changed. The mothers drop their sea bags and fall to their knees to hug children who have grown inches since they left. The reintegration is hard. They have to soften. They have to stop speaking in acronyms. They have to get used to a shower that doesn't turn off after 2 minutes. So the next time you see footage of an American aircraft carrier projecting power across the globe, look closer at the faces on the deck. Look for the ponytail under the helmet. Look for the woman guiding the bomb loader. She is not a token. She is a nuclear-trained, combat-hardened professional who has sacrificed her privacy, her comfort, and her time with her family to stand the watch. She is the proof that the strength of the ship is not in the steel, but in the crew, all of them. If this unfiltered look into the lives of the women who run the world's most powerful warships changed your perspective, I need you to do 3 things right now. First, subscribe to the Tactical Chow channel. We are committed to telling the human stories behind the military hardware. Second, smash that like button. It helps us break through the algorithm to share these stories with the world. Third, leave a comment below. I want to know, could you handle the lack of privacy and the separation from your family for 9 months to serve on the USS Bush? Is the paycheck worth the sacrifice? Let me know in the comments. And finally, if you think the berthing on a carrier is cramped, you have no idea what true claustrophobia is until you see life on a submarine. Click the video on your screen right now to explore the silent service where there is no sunlight, no fresh air, and no way out. Click it, and I'll see you there.